This is Hurricane Katrina, and this is Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene, a Category 4 storm, brought 140-mile-per-hour winds when it made landfall in September 2024. With no time to evacuate, 230 lives were tragically lost. Still, hundreds are missing. Loved ones are searching, hoping for a miracle in the devastation. Bubba O'Leary's, a beloved Asheville landmark and general store where locals gathered, is barely standing. The first floor is gone, reduced to debris. Roads and bridges are washed away, cutting off access, leaving locals stranded and unable to receive aid. Entire cities were swept away by floodwaters over 30 feet high. With the storm hitting in the early morning, many were unprepared. Homes, businesses, and lives were lost in the raging waters. Lake Lure has become a landfill filled with wreckage, homes, trees, roads, and bodies. Chimney Rock, once a thriving town of 200, is now unrecognizable, a barren wasteland. Rivers are filled with sewage and chemicals, causing burns on rescuers. E. coli and diseases are spreading, but isolated towns remain unaware, risking their lives. Countless lives have been shattered and families broken. The devastation is beyond words. Conspiracy theories are emerging. A lithium and quartz deposit was discovered under a town north of Asheville. Mining was paused due to local protests, but now, with so many lives lost, there's little left to protest. While billions are sent overseas, Helene's victims are given just $750 per household. It's hard to feel anything but frustration. Local anger toward FEMA is palpable. They've grounded civilian helicopters, confiscated goods, and delayed relief. Helicopters hover over supply centers, blowing away aid, while relief is blocked from the hardest-hit areas. Despite military presence, only 2 trucks were seen, and one was towing the other. Civilians are stepping in where the government has failed. Strangers have come together to rebuild, working tirelessly to restore their homes and their lives.
Before I get started, I want to say thank you to everyone. We raised right about $7,000, almost about, because of you guys. A lot of people got help and support. We all really appreciate it. Back to the video.
With your generous donations, we were able to buy essential items for the people affected by Hurricane Helene. Diapers, baby wipes, formula, non-perishable foods, hygiene products, clothes, water, and so much more, all loaded up at Costco. On our first trip, we spent over $1,500, filling carts with critical supplies. The second trip totaled another $1,500, and we spent an additional $1,000 on baby food. Our haul completely filled our trailer and truck bed, bending the trailer wheels under the weight. We headed to Walmart next for baby bottles, rubbing alcohol, cleaning supplies, and medicine, spending another $1,000. The day before, some of our teams spent $1,200 more on supplies, including goodie bags filled with candy for the kids. While in Asheville, we raised another $800, which was used to buy grills and propane for a relief event happening in the coming days. Altogether, we raised and donated over $7,000 to help those who needed it most, all in less than 3 days. The power of God is truly amazing. The path we went on was fully paved by the Almighty. Let me explain. We began without a clue of where to go or how to get there, but we had faith. And with faith, anything is possible. We started our journey by calling many people to find out if we would even be able to enter Asheville or if we'd just be turned away. No one knew, but the University Relief Center said, if we go anywhere, go to Swannanoa. They don't have a local government to organize any relief. We made more calls, sent more emails, but still no response to the question of whether we would be turned away. The next day, we headed to Costco to buy supplies, and we met a father and son who directed us to Swannanoa as well. We finished our shopping and met up with the rest of the crew at a local gas station, where we met the manager, a man from California who used to be the assistant preacher at Destiny Church. For those who live in the Sacramento area, it's that big church with the big cross across the freeway next to the mall. He directed us to Swannanoa as well. Now 3 people have directed us to the same place. So we left without a clue if we'd be turned back, but we had faith. The drive there was about an hour long, with the other side of the freeway heading away from Asheville completely jammed up with back-to-back traffic. The closer we got, the more devastation surrounded us. Trees, houses, parks completely destroyed, as the fear of being turned around lurked. But soon enough, we reached the Swannanoa exit without a single problem. As we took the exit, an eerie gaze entered our souls. Everywhere we looked, there was destruction. The roads were covered in thick mud, and buildings were crumbling. Sorrow filled our hearts as our eyes began to water, for we knew many lives had been lost and destroyed. There wasn't a single inch unaffected. We wondered what we would have done in their place, but there was no comforting answer. An entire town of 5,000 people, completely run down and washed away. Cars in trees, trailers in houses, bridges crumbled, businesses destroyed, trees tilting and covering the ground, boats in houses. The devastation surrounded us with no end in sight. As our hearts sank deeper and deeper into a seemingly endless pit, we looked into the eyes of the people, the eyes of the community, the eyes of the volunteers, the eyes of the linemen, and we were astonished. They were happy to see us, happy to be alive and breathing, happy their families were safe, and happy that you cared enough to give your hard-earned money in support. As I write this out, a revelation comes to me. It's hard to put into words, but it goes something like this. No matter the pain, no matter the suffering, no matter the worries, if you have your life, if you have love for your neighbors and God, your life is fulfilled. And no matter the situation you've been put into, if you rely on the power of the Almighty, rebuilding, restoring, and refilling your heart is a simple task. Our journey continued as we drove through the debris. Sinkholes appeared to our left that could only be described as bomb craters. At this point, we were nearing our designated location and passed a sign that read Swannanoa United Methodist Church, so we decided to turn in. We slowly crept forward through the parking lot, and a man with a jolly smile approached us. We later learned this was Francisco, the pastor. We got out, unlocked the trailer, and pulled down the door, directing him to take a look. His eyes filled with relief. Diapers, baby bottles, formula, and socks were exactly what they needed. As the team handed him the goods and topped off their generator with gas, I grabbed some goodie bags and decided to look around to assess the situation. Not expecting much, I walked into the church and was astonished by the donations covering the cafeteria and hallways, crowding the church and forcing me to maneuver through the halls. The goodie bags I carried began to leave my hands as children lightened my load. I looked down at one child with his hands in the last goodie bag. "Thank you," he said quietly. His face began to radiate with joy, as if a light had shone on him in the dim room. Joy spread through me like wildfire, and my eyes began to water. Just like that, I had no more bags to give, so I headed back to the patiently waiting truck. The sky began to fill with colors, and the sun disappeared. Morning came quicker than expected. We got up and sped to the church, because we were already late. The pastor prayed over us, and it was a powerful prayer. As we drove to the designated location, we saw an elderly man carrying a branch. "Hey, do you need help?" we called out. He quietly said, "Follow me." Not sure what to expect, we parked and eagerly got out. Above us stood a leaning, charred power pole. The man stepped over the power lines and continued to the back of the house. Still unsure what we were dealing with, we followed. Our eyes widened and our jaws dropped. Before us lay around 10 to 15 trees piled on the roof of the house. We asked ourselves how the roof hadn't collapsed under the weight. It shouldn't even have been possible. But then it became clear. Under all those trees stood another tree. You might think it was a huge tree holding them up, but no, it was just 5 feet high and a foot wide. A miracle. We later learned the man had dementia and was a retired lineman. He expertly instructed us, and we precisely sawed each tree he indicated. The sun beat down on us as we dripped with sweat, the fresh scent of wood masking our own scent. Hour after hour passed, and we were finally done. As we walked back over the power lines, a group of locals gathered below, their faces filled with astonishment. Man, we looked at that earlier and said no way anyone could clean that up without heavy machinery. Gratefulness filled our hearts as we knew God had protected us. We sluggishly got back into the truck, radiating sweat and joy, for we had accomplished what we set out to do. Some might call it the sweet victory of relief. There's much more to tell, but the video isn't long enough to capture the whole story. These parts should give you a picture of what happened. I want to thank everyone who supported us and gave us the ability to make a difference. May God bless all of you and return the blessings you have given others. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to make the impact we did. We are truly forever grateful.